we deep dive into what is IQ or intelligence quotient, I would like to bring your understanding to the concept of mind and how it is structured. We have to stop looking at mind from like a doctor or a neurosurgeon who will look at anatomy or physiology. What we are going to do today is primarily understanding theoretically how our mind is classified and how each of the centers of mind help us in determining how we become. It is ideally, if I have to put in one line, we are manifestations of our subconscious mind. And
the mind is classified into two parts. Theoretically, it has two segments. The first segment is conscious mind, which accounts for about 10% and is responsible for our logic, whereas the second part is called subconscious mind, which accounts for 90% of images and emotions. So primarily whatever we see as an image or a picture that is get stored in our subconscious mind, all the emotions we go through of liking, disliking, all those things as an experience, they get stored into our subconscious mind. Imagine in a childhood, again from 1st to 6 years of the child's age, whatever they are learning things directly recording into their subconscious mind. They are like uncorrupted because they have not developed intelligence quotient, and I will explain later on how that is the key. Similarly, the conscious mind, which is kind of the active mind, which is trying to respond to logic. He's analyzing things. What is the right logic? What is the wrong logic? It works like a computer program which operates in binary language. It's either yes or no. There is nothing in between. It is accounting for short-term memory, thinking, planning, as I will be discussing later on, how we can use IQ for planning better financial aspects to get financial freedom. Also, all the decision making and analysis is dependent on IQ. As I said, if you go to right side, you will see it is responsible, subconscious mind is responsible for long-term memory, emotions, all the habits which we acquire in our life, they are getting recorded in our subconscious mind. Relationships, addictions, everything gets into our subconscious mind because these are repeated actions. Whichever you do, they tend to get recorded in the subconscious mind. A lot of involuntary functions of our body, like suddenly if there is something comes to your eyes gets closed suddenly. So it's a involuntary function. Your heart is beating, it's pumping blood. That is an involuntary function. So organ functions which are involuntary are controlled by subconscious mind. Creativity, which is beyond intelligence, innovation, those all are the aspects where you think out of the box. They are from the subconscious mind. Similarly, developmental stages of our life, they are part of subconscious mind. And finally, even the spiritual wellness or spiritual connection, which leads to SQ, which is a main topic of our holistic health and being, is also residing in the subconscious mind. So in that way, it is a key component of our brain, major component of our brain. So hope this gives you some understanding of how mind works. Conscious mind is ideally we. We receive information, identify incoming information through one of the six senses, which are known as smell, sound, touch, taste, feeling, and sight, looking at something. So these are the 6 ways we receive any external information. So our conscious mind receives that information, identifies this, processes this information, and then goes to subconscious mind for instruction how to respond to these information. Because like subconscious mind is already a database that has a response for each of these, which we have accumulated over a period of time through learning, through experiences. So our response will be based on what kind of information our conscious mind received. So it's like a messenger. Conscious mind is a messenger, and your subconscious mind, is a database which will give you the action based on what information you have received. Let's jump to subconscious mind. The official understanding or the idea of some subconscious mind was first discovered or introduced by Sigmund Freud in 1915. To the extent that subconscious mind influences our lives, but it has been topic of much research. But if you go back in the holistic world or scriptures of any countries or civilizations 5,000 years ago, all the yogis and yogic rishis already knew that there is a subconscious, superconscious, unconscious, and conscious mind. So that their practices were always bringing awareness to our subconscious mind. That's what they have been doing. Whether it's been rishis or Gautam Buddha, they have demonstrated that they could awaken their superconscious mind, passing through from subconscious mind and attaining a spiritual bliss. In the second part, I had explained, giving example of Gautam Buddha and how Gautam Buddha realized that the materialistic world was not meeting his end goal, and he started searching for his purpose by going to Buddhahood, going to a spiritual path. I will give you an example to clarify my point further. Siddhartha Gautama, which is famously known as Gautam Buddha, you all know, was born around 567 BCE in a very small kingdom just below the Himalayan foothills as a prince. This is very important to keep in mind. As a prince, Gautama grew up in pricely, luxurious environment, shielded from outside world. But sooner, he is starting feeling uncomfortable. Gautama realized that life has no meaning. Those luxury things stopped exciting him, giving him happiness and any purpose in life. Then he started his journey to Buddhahood, and we all know what happened next. You clearly see Gautama's experience, Buddha's experience, was all in the luxury. He was, as a prince, he had enjoyed all the materialistic happiness in abundance, and then he realized that what he had was not enough to give him blissful life or purpose of life. That's where he left everything and went in search of his answers. In a similar way, we come to this world, and after 6 years of age, as I mentioned earlier, our IQ starts developing. Our desire to start experiencing this world in a human, social, materialistic way also starts developing. We start our professional journey to acquire things like education, employment. We want to be successful. We want to earn a lot of money, buy all the good things which are needed for our life to give us comfort. We do money making to fulfill basic needs, and we define achievement of these as happiness. Pleasure in materialistic things needs to be satisfied before we realize, like Gautama, that this is not enough. Something is missing. Once we have seen and experienced materialistic life, it becomes easy for us to experience something. And even if, and I'm sure we all go through that cycle, like Gautam Buddha, that ultimate bliss or ultimate holistic peace is not in materialistic life or in money. But unless and until you experience, if you have insecurity, if you don't have financial freedom, if you don't have any of the basic needs satisfied, getting to that level, enlightenment or awareness is typically rare. Once we have seen and experienced materialistic life, and then we realize that this is not the end goal of our life, we start our journey to search for those answers like Buddha. The spiritual well-being journey starts, and our spiritual quotients start developing. It starts to go to next level. We go to temples, we do meditation, we try to get answers from books, scriptures, from saints. We seek answers from God, scriptures, and we become ultimate seeker. That is the right state in which we can at least start our journey for holistic well-being. To further emphasize my point, I would like to introduce you to another concept which is known as Maslow's hierarchy of needs theory. This theory was given by Maslow in 1946, and at least to me, it fits the concept of why wealth generation may have a role in moving us to or moving towards holistic well-being. This is a motivational 5-tier model of human needs, often depicted as different hierarchical level within a pyramid.
If you look at the Maslow's hierarchy of needs pyramid, you would understand that at the bottom you have the physiological needs, which involves basic needs such as food, water, air, clothing, housing, like which anyone requires to survive. I wouldn't call housing to be purely a physiological need because it falls into something called safety. But if you remove that component, what is required for this physical body, for our physical well-being, that comes under physiological need. And it is key for us to address this component. If we don't address the basic needs, we will be stressed out. If imagine suddenly, we don't have a clarity whether we'll get our next meal, whether we'll get food, water, whether we will be able to do something if we fell sick, if we need some medical attention. If these all things are not addressed, we get into fear mode. When we get into fear mode, we get into stress mode. If we get into stress mode, we stop thinking rationally. When we stop thinking rationally, we'll get into panic. And we get into panic, then it leads to actions which are not well thought. We get into anger. Once we get into anger, our mental health gets affected. Once mental health gets affected, your spiritual well-being or holistic wellness cannot be achieved. So there is a very fine link through this pyramid. If you see that somehow we have to create means to address those needs. And obviously the next one is safety, that comes through acquiring means of earning, having a house, safety for the family, for ourselves, and that also addresses our emotional bit. But these things go hand in hand. So IQ is very, very effective and can be utilized to make sure that we address all the physiological needs and safety needs by different means of using our intelligence quotient. It does not mean just getting a degree or studying, but it is beyond. How you plan a well-structured strategy very early on in life. I would say from the time when you start developing your IQ, and that is around age of 6, I mentioned earlier, you start developing your IQ. So you should become aware, bring all the nice practices which are there, are important for holistic well-being, like yoga, pranayams, meditations, have a routine, do prayers, all those things which give you a routine, and then start recording. If you have seen in the subconscious mind aspect, that very things which we do, as our intelligence or IQ starts developing, our conscious mind start developing, these things gets recorded with practice. It requires repetitive process to record those activities in our subconscious mind, and if it becomes a habit, it develops our character in that certain form. So obviously, proactively we should try that early on, but during that phase we should also start proactively plan our financial freedom. This is something which is needed, which is must to lead a holistic life, and I'll go in detail. The sooner we realize that we have to have a strong strategic plan, and we have to proactively devise how we are going to achieve financial freedom and then lead a better life, get into a better practice, which is not worrying about these basic needs of life. It will be bringing us to our way of holistic life or spiritual life or liberation very early on. We don't have to wait for old age, retirement to start thinking on those, because if you see a traditional life, and especially being in US, if you see all the education system, what it is doing is it's making you take loans to study, then you try and find a job, and then you spend your life first few years in paying off those loans. By the time those loans are halfway, to lead materialistic life, and I'll tell you, there is a difference that how much you can stretch or how much you should take care of your materialistic life, and there is a nice way of satisfaction which will come later on this topic today. But for the time being, that we take loans for car, then home, and then there is this vicious cycle which never ends, which leads to insecurity, fear, stress, and all sorts of negative connotations, which spoils our health. Then we spend money on bringing health and wellness. So if health is spoiled, obviously we can't be healthy in thinking. We'll be stressed out. If we are stressed out, we can't be thinking of doing good to others, because we are not good, because goodness is gone. Goodness is needed. When you help others, you feel good, so you can't help because you are not well. Then your spiritual well-being remains under rest for late phase of your life. So it is the key that we understand that and accept, I would say accept, that to achieve your spiritual well-being or holistic well-being, we have to have a plan and a strategy to address our physiological needs and define clearly what we are expecting out of our profession. I would say the best way is generate indirect way of income. You make sure that very early on, whether it is investing in yourself, in skills, by doing some education. Don't try and take loans and burden yourself early on. Make sure that you add skills which you can start monetizing early on. Your life, even if it's dependent on job for say initial 5, 6, 10 years, but during that time, utilizing that opportunity of cash flow you are getting, you should make sure that you generate enough income means. Even if you are not there, those income, those money needed for your basic physiological need keeps coming. If you fell sick, you don't go to work, to your business, to your any money making activity, still money keeps coming. And there are many ways. We will discuss these in a separate video. It's a very detailed topic, very dear to me. That can start investing your skills in a smaller way very early on in life, and by the time you reach to your early 30s, you will have ways and means to have that passive income which will work for you while you are sleeping. So that topic we will discuss later, but for the time being, we should accept that we should use intelligence quotient to bring financial intelligence, train ourselves to make sure that we are financially savvy. When I say financial savvy, I mean that we should make sure that we understand our P&L, profit and loss statement, for us very early on, that we cannot have 10 rupees or $10 and we spend $20. Somehow we have to make sure, try to fix our needs in pursuit of happiness. Try to make sure that we are not stressed out in either way. We don't have to have greed, but at the same time we have basic means to address our needs. To summarize our today's video, we should proactively plan for our safety, keeping in mind Maslow's law of hierarchy needs. Address those first. We can only address if we accept that if we are just wandering like this, we realize at the age of 30, now money is important. Oh, what do? I don't have enough for my kids' education. I don't have enough for my retirement. Those things will keep you in this vicious cycle of fear, greed, stress, left out feeling, guilt. So to avoid that, start early. I think my recommendation for someone who is at their early 18s, and that's what I told to my daughters, that you should start planning early. It has nothing to do using intelligence quotient to generate wealth, and what I call as financial intelligence has nothing to do with education. You can be in your 10th grade, 11th grade, and you can start thinking of ways of addressing how to obtain financial freedom. The more early you become aware that this is a need and it has to be addressed to lead a healthy and holistic life, you will be able to better graduate into next stage where you have freedom to do what you want to do. You have freedom to add value to the world. You want to help others? Great. That is a feeling of goodness you will get. But to have that, you should have means of income. You should save money for the charity, and you should save money for yourself if you want to practice certain holistic well-being lifestyle, which includes, if you want to go to places which give you bliss, you can do that. But for that, you need to plan and start early. Does not mean, what I'm saying is, once again I have to emphasize, because I said earlier also, that you have to first run on this money race. No, it can be done parallel. Your holistic lifestyle should be practiced also early on, while you are planning for financial freedom. You build a routine as soon as, when you have crossed 6 years of age, and as I said earlier, that is the time your IQ start developing, your conscious mind start developing. You bring these activities, because subconscious mind will only learn through practice, through repetitive times. You do a practice, you practice, and then that activity gets stored in your brain. So that's the only way. Before 6, you learn things by watching. This is a very critical aspect which is very important for even parents. When kids are born, as I just told, that up to the age of 6, we learn things by watching, by practicing, by looking at our environment. And in science, I will tell you, and that's a separate topic, it's like epigenetic traits, which we are incorporating once we are born. So that is the time from the time we are born up to 6, 7 years of age. It is very important for parents to make sure that whatever they want to build or they want kids to attain, exemplify, show, practice good things in house in front of them. Try to bring certain routines. If the child sees that there is a meditation in the morning, parents are waking up early, they are doing pranayama, they are doing certain structured activity of holistic activities instead of sleeping late, not taking care of healthy food. If we demonstrate, I would say that that is the age where you don't have to tell. Once their intelligence quotient come, their rationality comes, they start deciding what is right or wrong. Then they take their own decisions, and if you push them, they get frustrated. So that's not the time to push them. The ideal way, if you want them to lead a happy life, is start practicing those things in front of them. Provide them example. You become their role model during that 6-7 years. And I'm sure if you inculcate great habits in them in the early on during those 6-7 years of their life, the data, whatever they are generating, is getting stored in their subconscious mind, and they will be very happy. We have inside our inner child even at late age like ours. So if we had good, bad, or ugly experiences, any kind of experience in childhood, those 6-7 years, those are stored in our subconscious mind, and that leads to manifestation of some of the fear, the hatred, the guilt, so many aspects. And it's a very complex topic, which is in mental health people are trying to address, researchers are trying to address. But in the relevance for today's topic, we should also make sure that we exemplify, we provide them a good routine, a holistic way of life from early on, whether it is nutrition, whether it is exercise, whether it is thoughts, meditation. If they see the environment within the home, those things gets recorded, and they will be able to practice in their life. You are born with no IQ. You are born with no conscious mind. So you are operating based on watching. You are trying to create data for your subconscious mind, your computer, your hard drive. So whatever you feed in your subconscious mind, that is the key hardware, which is like the source, as I mentioned in the video, like the binary numbers. You can feed activities, you can feed like a operating system, like Windows, to execute those. And one of those operating systems should be one, bringing awareness to IQ, bringing means to have financial literacy, financial intelligence, developing your financial quotient, so that money is needed. It is an important part of our lives, and we try to address this proactively very early on. If we do that, then I'm sure we will be able to lead a life which is not about fear or stressing, and we can decide obviously what is the best way for us to lead the next phase of our spiritual life. I hope you liked today's video. If you like the content, please hit the subscribe button. Thank you very much. Namaste. See you in the next video. Bye.